Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. We're kicking off the week with a really great topic today. I'm excited to share with all of you how to resist overspending, especially as we head into this holiday season, and stick to your budget. How to stick to your holiday budget, even when there's so many temptations all around us. Everywhere we look, everywhere we log online, every time we look at our phone, there's all these temptations for us to spend. So, how do you stick to your convictions, your values, your boundaries, all of those things for yourself and even for others? This is going to be a great conversation today. So, and I'd love to hear as you hop in here. Let me know if you're live or if you're watching the replay. Give me a hashtag live or hashtag replay. I want to know that you're here, and I want to know, I'd love to hear your takeaways as we go through this. So feel free to comment all throughout. So we all know this time of year, there's so many temptations to spend. I noticed back in October, I went into Kohl's and it was already Christmas music. And just hearing that music and starting to feel and know and see the Christmas things, I get really excited. Even me, as a natural saver, I get super excited to spend, to start really relishing the holiday season, get in the mood, all of that, whether it's food, decor, gifts, whatever it is. Like it gets exciting as we head into Christmas, right? But that can also cause us to overspend, and it causes us to spend outside of our Christmas budget, which hopefully you have set a Christmas budget so that you can still continue to go after the financial goals that God has called you to. So, I would love to hear, are you more tempted to overspend online or in store? Which one of those are you most tempted? And is it both? So, kind of for me, I went into Kohl's. There's all these ideas for get little gifts, and there's all the Christmas music's going like that. That is very tempting in store because the emotions are involved and the senses are all involved. Online, the ads are very targeted to exactly what I want, right? So something might pop up that I've never thought about, but it might exactly be a solution to a problem I've been looking for. And so I might want to spend on that, but I hadn't planned for that. Now, there's some other things going into that. Sometimes it's okay to spend on that, right? If it is the solution you've been looking for and you have planned for something for that problem, then it's okay to spend, right? But also, there might be three different things that claim to solve the same problem I have. So, as a business owner, I get all, if any of you are business owners, shout out, hashtag business owner. I get all these things on growing my business to six figures and beyond, right? So, there's this person telling me how to do it, this person telling me to do it, this person telling me how to do it. And it's like, I don't need to buy all those things, right? I need to find the one coach or the one course or whatever it is that's going to move me to the next level in my business. So, okay, that's totally a side note. So, question, are you more tempted to overspend online or in store? Let me know. And then we're going to dive into what you can do starting now, starting today. I hope this training gives you so much clarity in your holiday spending and in overspending, and just so that you can go into the rest of the season feeling very confident on what you choose to spend on and also what you choose to not spend on. So the first thing is we want to cover this in prayer, right? Like always, we want to cover our spending plan in prayer. We want to cover this holiday season in prayer. Pray that the Lord would help us steward it well, right? So as you're thinking through this, don't forget to pray. Don't forget to praise Him for His provision, right? Let Him know you are so grateful for His provision, but that you want to stay in the boundaries that He gives you within that provision. That makes such a difference. So definitely cover this in prayer. And then the second thing is to know your why. Why do you want to resist overspending anyway? And I'd love to hear, y'all put in the comments, why do you want to resist overspending? There's a reason for that. Some people say, I want to be more disciplined. I want to be debt free. Whatever your reason is, those aren't really very fun reasons. I want to be more disciplined. Like, who says that? We all say that, right? About certain things, whether it's health or finances or whatever. But it's like, why do we want to be more disciplined? Why? What is that going to get you? What will you gain from more discipline? What will you gain from becoming debt free? So I want you to think past that initial thought And what do you gain because of that? And that's when you start hitting on it, and that's when you really start to solidify, why do I really want to resist overspending? What's the point? I tell my clients, I tell y'all all the time, your yes has to be bigger than your no, right? So, and if you want to say no to overspending, you have to have a bigger yes. Maybe if you don't spend as much, maybe you won't argue with your husband as much. Ooh, that's a big one, right? Maybe if, and this is all, this, everybody's unique, which is why I love coaching. I get to dive in exactly to where you are and what you need. But yeah, so maybe you won't be arguing with your husband. Maybe you want more margin in your income because you're tired of things being so tight. And you know that it's spending habits that has made things so tight. So it's time to do something different, right? And then when things aren't so tight, what will you be able to do? How cool will it be to have savings and an account for when an emergency happens and you don't have to pull out the credit card? How freeing would that be for your family? How freeing would it be to start to invest for retirement, to actually have extra money in your spending plan to invest in a Roth IRA for your future? For what about a kid's college fund? Maybe you want to start that and you haven't yet, right? Like, how cool would it be to have extra margin in your finances so that you can do whatever that thing is? Save for a home, okay? All of you are going to have different goals, and that's wonderful. So why? Why do you want to resist overspending? What is the point? Okay? Because your initial answer is probably not going to be it's not going to be the real answer. I will tell you that. And probably not even your second or third. Why do you want that? Okay. Why do you want that? What will that allow you to accomplish? What will you gain from that? So really think about that. The answer to that question is what is going to fuel you to become debt free. It's going to fuel you to say no to overspending, which allows you to become debt free, right? And it's going to convict you. Like, that why will convict you. And that's going to be what you need in that moment when the ad pitches the perfect thing. That, do we need it or do we want it, right? Those are two different things. And if you need it and you've been praying for that, then and you can pay for it, okay, right? That's amazing. That's God's answer to your problem, and somebody has a solution for you, and absolutely it's worth money to pay for. But if it's something that, oh yeah, that looks awesome, I'd love to have that, and you hadn't even thought about it before now, and you hadn't planned for it before now, you can feel confident in that conviction and say no and skip right over it, right? And don't even do anything about it. So number 3, and this is always hard for me to talk about in like a training setting because it can be so different for everybody. What exactly is overspending? But here's the thing. You and the Lord get to define overspending. So, and maybe I should have started with this because I feel like I've been kind of walking around this trying to figure out how to explain these different things already. But essentially, overspending is spending outside of God's provision for you or for your family. It says I've gotten 2 comments and I don't see the comments, so I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know who's here, but I'm glad you're here. So overspending is spending outside of God's provision for you, outside of the income He provides you. There's times when you're going to use savings. Is that overspending? No, because that's been His provision for you in the past, right? There's times that you will use debt, and all of my clients have used debt when they have had to, for whatever reason, go outside of God's provision for them, right? Some of that is warranted. Some of that is debt might have been the answer in that season, in that time. That's all they knew to do. And you know what? That's okay. But you want to get to the point where debt is just not even an option, because God desires for you to be debt free because there's so much freedom in that, okay? So you and the Lord get to define overspending. Proverbs 27:23 says, know well the condition of your flocks and give attention to your herds. So most of us don't have flocks and herds. For those of you that do, put it in the comments. I have flocks and herds. But most of us don't. So what do we have? We have a bank account. We have a job that provides us income, and we have expenses that come out of that, and we have things that we need for our family. That's your flocks and your herds, right? You have to know the condition of that. You have to know what's coming in. You have to know what's going out. And that's so, so important. I actually just went through in post form the 7 steps of a Christian budget spending plan. So if you want access to that, it's in the group. I will tag you. Just put in the comments spending plan tag, and I'll go back and tag you in those steps. You can actually walk through it step by step. You can plan a little time each day to do it over 7 days, or you can go through it all at once, whatever. But I can tag you in that. So one of the examples of this is a client just yesterday, actually. She and I were talking about how she, whenever we started coaching, which was 2 months ago, how she wanted to exercise discipline in the area of makeup. She loved makeup. She knew she was spending way too much on makeup. That was a conviction God had given her, but she wasn't sure how to manage that. So her goal when we started coaching was, I've got plenty of makeup right now. I don't need anything new. I can use what I have. Sure, it's not going to be different all the time, and I can't go pick out some different things. But for now, this is all I need. So for the first 2 months, she was very disciplined. She didn't buy any makeup. What happened though, coming in, we're in the middle of the 3rd month now, and she's like, oh no, I didn't budget any money for makeup, and now we're getting into the holiday season, and now it's time for me to spend with a plan on makeup. So we talked through that, how do you handle that? Can she put it on a credit card because it's not in her plan? Is there room in the spending plan for it? Whatever. We talked through that for her specific situation, right? So that she could enjoy spending on the makeup now, because now it's time. She's proven the discipline. She can spend on it now. She's saved a ton of money in the last 2 months because she's been disciplined in that, but also so many other areas of finances. Including groceries. That's a big one for us as moms and wives. And so that was an example of her, she and the Lord were defining, what does overspending look like? There's a time that she overspent, and then now there's a time where she gets to spend and enjoy it. And even though she's still disciplined to stay within a certain limit, it's not overspending anymore. So that can shift as you're disciplined in your finances, and as you follow finance the way God designed it and start actually implementing those things, that can change and shift. Okay, so let's see. I've been getting a ton of messages around, and I probably should do just a separate live on this to keep this one shorter, but I've been getting a ton of messages and having a ton of client conversations around relationships and money. And I'm actually going to put that in the comments because that is so key. There's the comment. As soon as I commented, hey, Heather, glad you're here. Yes, you want to be a better example for your kids to prepare them for their future. Yeah, so that's huge. And that's a big part of this. Like, our kids can be more prepared than we were when we graduated high school and went out into the world and became independent on our own, including financially. And we were a disaster because we had no clue how to manage money. We racked, a lot of people rack up debt because that's what you're supposed to do to get a good credit score, right? All these things. So I love that, using that example for your kids. And teaching them, making wise decisions with them. Okay, so let's talk about relationships and money. Especially around this time of the year, is when this comes up so much more than other times of year, because we are, should I say the word forced, obligated, whatever you want to say, to be around people more, and possibly even people that we're only around once or twice a year. So with that said, as we come into this season, there's that external pressure to give, to overextend ourselves financially, especially if we haven't been planning for this all year, which is something I really try to work on with clients, is to start saving their Christmas money every month so that by the time it gets here, they have plenty. They don't have to worry about it. They don't have to stress over it. There's no counting down how many paychecks do I have left and how much money can I spend, all of that. So So that's something. But anyway, all these relationship things, all the traditions we've had, some are good, some are some are not so good, right? So, for example, one of the clients I'm working with, the first Christmas that we were doing coaching, she has 2 adult kids, and they would send her an Amazon wish list for Christmas every year. And she really felt pressured. And I think this is very common. It's funny, I actually coach a lot of people with adult kids, which is funny because my oldest is 11, my twins are 8. So I don't have experience in this, but I like real life experience in this, except what I've learned over the years and the wisdom that God gives me, right? But also, I feel like it's an area that I can really help them with because I am completely emotionally unattached to the fact that they're completely responsible for their kids anymore, right? Like, I'm like, no, they're adults, they're out of the house, they have their own responsibilities. How are you going to parent them so that they can start taking responsibility for their own lives, so they can be a fully functioning adult for their own life, for their life, right? Like mom and dad, y'all are, it's that, especially if they're married, it's that leave and cleave concept, right? So, which is hard. I have 3 boys, y'all, and I'm struggling. This is a side note, but just being real here, I'm struggling with when my boys get married and they will literally not need their mama anymore. So, I mean, they'll still need me. Yes, I know that. But I'm going to have to encourage them, this is between you and your wife. Certain things are between you and your wife, and y'all are going to have to figure that out together. I'll be glad to coach you through that, right? But you guys are a team. And so, and this happens a lot whenever, it just happens a lot as kids grow up. I think it's really hard to figure out, like, when do I actually set that boundary with my adult kids? And that's something I really love walking clients through. But anyway, this client has 2 adult kids, and one of them is married. Both of the spouses make great incomes. So they would send her an Amazon wish list. Their expectations were a little high because of that, right? So they would send they would send her an Amazon wish list, her and her husband. And I mean, it would have things that $100, $300. I mean, these weren't cheap things on that wish list. And so my initial thought was, you've got to limit that to what do you really want to buy them? What do you feel like they would really appreciate the most? But coming into that conversation, she was practically buying everything from their list. And it wasn't that she had the income. This couple, her son and daughter-in-law, made more than what she and her husband made. And they're, trying to plan for retirement and everything. And then they're giving these extravagant, in their world, gifts, right? And not being able to fund their retirement the way they want to as they get closer and closer and closer to where, God might be calling them to other things in life besides working 40 hours a week. So that was something she really struggled with. So we got to the point where she was able to pick the things, and also she was able to set a budget and stick to it. And she felt confident. A lot of it was just feeling confident and telling her child no. And that goes from no matter what age they are, right? There's things our child needs to hear no. And it wasn't even so much that her kids were expecting all those things, but that's the way she had trained them that she would love to do, is bless them at Christmas, give them all the things they wish they had. And that had just never transitioned into adulthood where she was trying to figure out who is responsible for what. So that's an example of the boundaries and the expectations. She had to have a conversation with them because she was feeling bad. So she had to open up the conversation and say, hey, just so y'all know, this Christmas is going to be different. Here's what it's going to look like instead. I want you to know I love you. I want you to know that Dad and I are planning for retirement. And because of that, this Christmas is going to look different. It's time. You guys are on your own. It's time for Dad and I to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. We don't want y'all to have to support us in 10 years when we retire. So 5 or 10 years. I mean, both of them. One of them's probably 5 years. One of them's 10 years. So if you get nothing else from this conversation today, from this training today, I would say I'm going to say start the conversation now. Walk through with your spouse if you're married. And this gets so heavy with your family, your spouse's family, multiple parents, parents-in-law, siblings. I mean, gosh, this can be a really big area of things where boundaries are needed, and these conversations are needed ahead of time. So if you get nothing else from this training, start the conversation now. Think about it. Talk about it, pray about it. Okay, let's change that order, right? Pray about it, think about it, what you want things to look like. How can you start to make good and not stressful, not anxious holiday memories because of the relationship aspect? And then talk about it with your spouse, and see what kind of solutions y'all can come up with. This is going to involve things like gift giving, right? How much is too much for each family? How much is too little? Is there even such a thing as too little? Can you write a letter about all the things you love about them and appreciate them? Is that more special than giving them a $50 gift? For some people it is. Just knowing that how much you appreciate them and love them, and having to actually put the thought in that of all the things. Make them a list, 100 reasons why I love you. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out here. But guys, if your budget's tight and if you're worried about your future, that's okay. Let them know. There's nothing wrong with that. But you've got to be confident enough in yourself. And that's a lot of what my client was struggling with, was not feeling confident in the way she managed money, and in the way that if she was frugal, the way that would come across to others. So she figured out a way to do that where she was honoring herself and her husband and the Lord, and also honoring and teaching her children, and letting them take responsibility for themselves. So again, nothing else. So again, if you get nothing else, start the conversation now. Set those expectations now. What expectations need to be set? What boundaries need to be set? And this can involve gift giving. This can involve food. Who's responsible for the food? Somebody else messaged me saying they were mom, and mom was, so the adult kid, this is a whole different person. The adult kids host Thanksgiving and Christmas at their house because they have a nice house. They love hosting. I say they love hosting. What they don't like is the food part, and they can't figure out the food part. So mom gets a text 2 or 3 days before, grandma, I guess I should say, gets a text 2 or 3 days before, Mom, you've got to bring this, 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 and this for the party. 2 or 3 days before. Okay, you can't even hardly get the food at that point. So she's just expecting that this year. And so I challenged her, what conversations do you need to have now so that that's not an issue? And then when they come to this time, and normally they would text you just a couple days before, then, you can say, I've already set that expectation. This is not the way we're doing things this year. I already made that very clear. I'm bringing this. This is what we agreed on. Y'all can figure out the rest. That's hard. That is hard for a mom, a grandma, right? But you know what? At some point, it's got to happen, or it's going to keep going and keep going and keep going. So how long do you want it to keep going, right? Man, there's some tough love coming in here today. God's bringing out some boldness today, and I love it. Hope you love it too. I hope it's helpful. I hope it's helpful for you. So set those expectations now and set those boundaries now. Matthew 5:37 says, let what you say be simply yes or no. Anything more than this comes from evil. But the crazy thing about that is, if you don't plan ahead of time what's going to be your yes and what's going to be your no, then you're probably going to let some things slide in that you wish you would have said no to, right? So that's why I'm talking about this now. Think about this now, and think about think about this now, and think about how you can prevent a lot of this. And it's funny, we're talking about overspending, and here we are talking about relationships, because all of these things affect your finances in a big, very, very big way. So I challenge you, what is going to be your yes this holiday season, and what is your no? And then whatever you decide on that, it's time to pick up the phone and start those conversations, write an email, send a text. I don't know what it is. Maybe send, this world is so different. You want to have a conversation over the phone because at least, or video, because you want to hear that they need to hear your determination, your confidence. They need to hear that you mean it, right? They need to hear your heart behind it as well. And a text or an email just isn't going to suffice for that. But what you could do is say, hey, we need to talk about Christmas dinner and who's responsible for what. I'm going to get ahead of this year, and there's going to be no last minute expectations, period. Let me know sometime this week that you can talk to me about that. You could text that and then plan that conversation. Like, seriously, put it on the calendar, plan that conversation, and then that's when you explain and you figure all the things out. You can go back and forth. It might not all be taken care of, obviously, in one conversation, but you setting that expectation is going to be so freeing, and being confident in that is going to be so freeing. So get clear on what your yes is this holiday season and what is your no, because not setting boundaries, that's been probably a main reason. If this is really resonating with you, that's probably been a main reason, and that's been holding you back from true financial freedom. Okay. So, gosh, I still have some things in here. Let me see what's most important. I think that's really all. That's the main things the Lord laid on my heart. There's so many stories and examples I can give of this that will help. But being prepared beforehand, which is a lot of what we talked about, thinking through that mentally. What do I need to do beforehand to make sure some things don't pop up? And we're actually walking through in Money Savvy Sisters this week. We are walking through a guided holiday planning session. So if you are always last minute on the holidays with your money, with your time, with everything, and you get so anxious because you're so last minute, you do not want to miss this session. And you'll even get a bonus when you come into Money Savvy Sisters right now. You get a bonus on how to set the right tone for the holiday season. We're not too late for that. We still, for the U.S., Thanksgiving's not until next week. We still have a few weeks before Christmas. You're not too late in setting the right tone. But if you're tired of being last minute and you're tired of having so much stress in the holiday season, you want to get into Money Savvy Sisters right now, okay? Also, the price is going up by $40 in the new year because I'm bringing in some amazing new content to truly help you transform your finances by God's design. It's going to be awesome to have that, and also have the community of believers, have the community of ladies in that too to support you, and then of course have access to me as your coach in there. The price will be going up per month, $40 per month. It's going up in January, or probably January, maybe the end of December. So if you get in now, it's only $59 a month. It's going to be $97 a month in the new year, but it's only $59 a month right now, and you are grandfathered in at that price. So if you have ever thought about wanting coaching or wanting to be part of a community of ladies who are all going after their God-given financial goals, this is still of a deal. $59 a month. New resources rolling out in January that are going to truly transform your finances. All about setting goals that honor the Lord, setting goals that get you to the future that God has for you, setting goals in the present so you can get to there, and then actually implementing those things day after day, month after month, year after year. Okay? Now's the time. So just put Money Savvy Sisters in the comment, and I'll reach out to you about that, or maybe even message me. Sometimes the comments, lately Facebook's been kind of glitchy. So the last scripture I want to leave you with is 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it. So as you're tempted to spend this season, as you're tempted to spend outside of God's provision, outside of your holiday budget, I want you to remember this verse, okay? What is your option to flee, right? And think about that now, and then when the time comes, you can actually flee. right? So think about, first of all, are you more tempted in store or online? If it is in store, okay, let's say so this is what's interesting about this. The way of escape, it talks about in that verse, how you can flee, that can come before the temptation, during the temptation, or after the temptation. Thinking about it now is what's going to help you be able to do it during the temptation, right? So maybe you need to stay away from the physical store that tempts you to spend $400 instead of $30, right? You go in for one thing, so Target's a really tough one on this. You might need to reduce your visits to, and I say this now with all the stuff that's going on. I very rarely go to Target, so I don't think about it, but some of you have boycotted Target, and that's fine. So maybe it's not Target, it's somewhere else. Sam's Club, Costco, those places are set up for us to walk in the door and see all these cool things, and they're not cheap, especially when you start stacking them all in your shopping cart. So is your fleeing, does that mean stay away from the physical store? Does it mean unsubscribing from emails? Does it mean trying to get ads turned off on Facebook, or clicking the little dots that say stop showing me notifications like this? I'm not really sure what that button does. It might actually show you other notifications, but if there's something that's tempting you that you are not interested in, or not even so much that you don't need to buy, that's tempting for you, but you don't need to buy, click those little three dots and pick the option right then and there. Be done with it so it doesn't even come back into your brain, right? And then remember today, like as far as the temptation during, when it's happening, like, oh, you see this item in the store, should I get it? Oh, this ad pops up, should I get it? Remember today's live. Remember, let your yes be yes and your no be no. What have you pre-decided? What have you already decided? And what are you gaining because of that decision? What's your why? Be confident in that, and be confident in what you're telling people. That's something, that's something we didn't really talk about, but like if friends ask you to go out to eat, and that is actually something I need to cover, is the food aspect of all this. So as we get busier, we want to go out to eat. So make smart decisions if you go out to eat, or go ahead and get a few extra things at the grocery store that you can make a quicker dinner at home and actually not go out to eat. That's an option. There's so many options to flee, right? So maybe instead of choosing, I don't know, Olive Garden, where it's like $20 a plate now, maybe you choose a place like McAllister's or Nuke's, or somewhere that's, a lot cheaper than what you would normally choose. Don't just like give in and say, oh, I just can't wait to go to Olive Garden, but I know it's not my budget, right? Nothing wrong with you going to Olive Garden if it is in your budget. Okay, let's just clear the air on that. It used to be my favorite restaurant, but now I'm not eating pasta, so it's a little, I can't really go there now. So think about what can you do? What's another option besides the place that you really want to go to, but that you're going to spend double or triple? What about your drink? Don't get a fountain drink. $3, $4 now for fountain drinks or a specialty drink or whatever. Just skip it. Just get water. Your body needs water anyway. It's going to be better for your skin. You're going to look better. You're going to feel better. Get water. Okay. There's just a lot of different ways to think about this. So to clarify today, how would it feel to make it through the holidays debt-free? How would it feel to not have credit card payments from holiday spending following you into 2024 because you were disciplined enough not to pull out the credit card this holiday season? Okay? Feeling that, knowing why you want to do that, all of that, that is going to be what fuels you to do this and do this well. Okay? Don't forget, we've got the guided holiday planning session coming up this week in Money Savvy Sisters. Drop Money Savvy Sisters in the comments if you know you need this and you know you cannot get through this holiday season without some support successfully. $59 a month. So you're going to spend more than that if you don't have support. I know that you will. For most of you, there might be a few of you that are like, that's a ton of money. Okay. Most of you are going to easily spend over $59 without support. And I'm going to also help you. You're going to, just because of the mindset, just because you've invested in learning God's design for money and in starting to think about it in a way that is going to get your family to the future that God has for you without money being a hindrance, because you've invested in that, you're going to start thinking differently. You're going to save so much more money than the $59 a month just by joining. I guarantee it. That accountability is huge, huge. Okay, so put Money Savvy Sisters in the comments if that is something that you are interested in, and I will reach out and let you know more information. So just to summarize, if you feel like you took a ton of notes and you've got a ton of takeaways at this point, you don't have to stick around at this point. Just you feel free to go ahead and stop listening, especially if you're watching the replay. But just to summarize so that you can think about these things, these are all mindset things that if we don't think about ahead of time, that we're not going to be able to put into action in the moment, right? Or even, oh, and I didn't talk about the after the temptation. If it's a product, you can return it. Okay, is that not cool? That even after the temptation, God can still give us a way to flee if it's a product. Now, if it's a food or drink, obviously you can't return that. So you just have to make a better decision before or during, right? So, okay. And I'd love to hear what did you take away today? What really stuck out to you as you watched this? And what is one thing you want to take action on today? Okay, type that in the comments if you're listening to the replay. And so going back to the summary, the very first thing was to cover it in prayer. Cover this all in prayer. Let the Lord guide you in this. There's obviously nothing I say is going, there's no way I'm not a better guide than the Lord, right? I'm not God. He is the Lord, and He is the best guide for all of this. Can I help you and bring out things that He wants to show you and bring out solutions? Absolutely. But cover this in prayer, okay? Surrender it all to Him. He's going to be the one that convicts you and also lets you know, this is okay, Heather, or this is okay, whoever it may be. Like, if you spend on this, as a saver, I've had to let Him say, Heather, I want you to enjoy this as my child, and it's okay to spend money on this. So He's going to convict you whichever way it is, right? Which is so, so cool. So second step is know your why. What will you gain by not overspending? What are you going to gain? What are you going to accomplish? What's going to happen if you don't overspend? How does that affect your family? How does that affect your future financial goals? Okay, step 3, you and the Lord, I say step 3, it's kind of just thought 3. You and the Lord get to define overspending, okay? Again, He's going to convict you on that. What does that look like for you? But having a plan, Luke 14:28, we always talk about the tower verse where you're building a tower. You're going to count the cost before you build the tower. You're just going to start building with having no idea how much it costs, because then you're not going to be finished and people are going to laugh at you. That's the verse paraphrased, right? So don't get laughed at, okay? Don't get laughed at. Count the cost. Luke 14:28, count the cost and then start building. Count the cost and then spend, okay? You and the Lord get to define that. Thought 4 is those boundaries and expectations that you need to set beforehand, starting today, okay? Do not put this off. Do not put this off. That only makes it worse. It perpetuates. If you start now, you can actually make this time so much less stressful, you'll have so much less anxiety. You'll get more sleep. That alone will allow you to have less stress and anxiety, right? As we get into this crazy busy season. So starting that now is really what matters. And that's what's going to be the best thing. And then don't let others think your convictions are wrong. If God's convicted you about something, be confident in that, okay? And if your conviction is wrong, sometimes we listen to ourselves more than we listen to the Lord. God's going to let you know, whether it's through somebody else or to yourself. But depending on you and depending on the person that you're receiving info or, that you're talking to, I guess you're having conversations with, usually, don't let them put something on you that God is not intending. That too. So that, again, this is why I love coaching, because we can really dive into exactly what's going on and figure out the right path for you and the right response and the right conversations and all of that and the right boundaries. Like, who do you need to set clear boundaries from and not spend as much time with. That's really important. Iron sharpens iron. We don't want to be with somebody around somebody very often that's not able to help us sharpen ourselves, right? Okay, that's it, guys. I'm going to say goodbye and sign off of here. I'd love to hear your takeaways. Message me if anything came up for you and you want to talk it through. Let's talk about it in Messenger, okay? I am here to help you, and I'm here to see you succeed and get your finances to where God has designed for that. So, all right, y'all have a fabulous day.